YouTube is hi. I'm back with the 25th books of 2023. I'm still coming in from Yarmouth, so I'm doing the rest of these because it's the only time I really have to myself to actually do them. So I'm going with a classic of children's literature, Charlie Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl. So anyway, this was actually given to me by a colleague of mine. He thought, just having a sort out, thought, hey, I think Judy might like this, and he's right. So guys, this book, I read this book years and years ago. Interesting too when you're rereading a book which came out in 1964, okay, and so obviously recording this in 2023. So obviously you know the story, everyone knows the story. It's become two cracking films, one starring Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka, the other one starring Johnny Depp as Willy Wonka. Both are good in their own way. However, if I had to pick a side, I would pick the Gene Wilder one in a heartbeat because I did not like the Willy Wonka one. It was just too dark. Now, part of it I actually did like. Okay, Deep Roy, who played all the Oompa Loompas, I thought it actually was really really good casting. He's a very good actor. Is Deep Roy. So it's but one thing I did not like is okay when you first meet Willy Wonka. This is going back to the Gene Wilder one. And he comes in with his cane and he comes in looking fragile and old. And then he does that flip and then he stands up and like there stands Willy Wonka. But the thing is, the audience, the children, don't know what's real, what isn't. And it kind of like this kind of steady descent, if you will, okay, of what kind of man Willy Wonka is. He's a deceiver. Now, when you meet him, the Johnny Depp version, well, the Tim Burton version, from the first moment you see him, he's just out there. There is no calmness with him. And I just didn't like the character. It just felt too dark, okay? It's like if you start off dark, where do you go from there? And it started off too dark. Watching that puppet show where the things burst into flames, I'm like, what? Okay, well, and the things, I took my niece, she was actually terrified. She was absolutely terrified of that film, and I don't blame her one bit. She was quite little at the time. So, nah, it had good moments, and of course, but Tim Burton being Tim Burton had to make it too dark. Okay, there was no light, absolutely no light. So anyway, okay, here we go. Let me read the blurb. Why not? Mr. Wonka's inventions are out of this world. He's thought of every kind of sweet imaginable in his amazing chocolate factory. But no one who's ever seen inside or met Mr. Wonka, Charlie Bucket can't believe his luck when he finds a golden ticket and wins a trip of a lifetime around the famous chocolate factory. He still could never have dreamed of what surprises lay in store. Okay, so you know the story. So Willy Wonka closed his factory, and then the the search for the five golden tickets, and of course Charlie's one of them. And the way it opens out as well, now you as an adult, you realise something where you don't realise when you're a kid watching this or reading this. Okay, right. Walking to school in the morning, Charlie could see great slabs of chocolate piled up high in the shop windows, and he would stop and stare and press his nose against the glass, his mouth watering like mad. Many times a day he would see other children taking bars of creamy chocolate out of their pockets and munching them greedily, and that of course was pure torture. Only once a year on his birthday did Charlie Bucket ever get to taste a bit of chocolate. The whole family saved up for their money for that special occasion, and when the day arrived, Charlie always presented one small chocolate bar to eat all by himself. Each time he received it on his marvellous birthday mornings, he would place it carefully in a small wooden box that he owned and treasured it as if it was a bar of solid gold. And for the next few days he would not allow himself to look at it, but never to touch it. And he nibbles it. He makes his bar of chocolate last an entire month. Okay, because the family is poor. They live, the four grandparents, okay, grandma, grandpa, Georgia, Joseph, Josephine. They're in their 90s. They all sleep in one bed, like top and tail. Charlie lives, this family are poor. They are poor. They are very, very poor. And this was written, obviously, 1960s, okay, so coming in kind of post-war generations. I mean, this was a bit of kind of economic kind of flux in the country as well. I mean, my dad, who was born a few years after the war, he actually had a ration book. He played in bombed out buildings in both Liverpool and London, right? So as nip as what you did. So this is a very, very poor place. This is a very, very kind of economically deprived section, okay? Even though it has a massive chocolate factory. And this is really, really bothers me, this bit here, okay? In a town, actually, within sight of the house which Charlie lived, there was an enormous chocolate factory. Just imagine that. It wasn't simply an ordinary enormous chocolate factory either. It was the largest and most famous in the whole world. It was Wonka's factory, owned by a man called Mr. Willy Wonka, the greatest inventor and maker of chocolate that has ever been. And what a tremendous, marvellous place it was. He had huge iron gates leading into it and a huge wall surrounding it, as smoke belching from its chimneys, and strange whizzing sounds coming from deep inside. Right, twice a day, on his way to and from school, little Charlie Bucket had to walk right past the gates of the factory. And every time he went by, he would begin to walk very, very slowly, and he would hold his nose high in the air and take long, deep sniffs of the gorgeous chocolate smell all around him. Oh, how he loved that smell. Right, so this poor place, this poor city, okay, this place, okay, where people struggle, you wouldn't believe, okay, this place where no one's drawn a pension, right, this has a chocolate factory which has no workers. It is locked 24/7. Now, I read this personal experience. I used to live near a coffee factory. I used to live near Nestles, or Nestle, how you pronounce it, coffee factory. The air smelled of chocolate. Sorry, no, didn't. The air smelled of coffee. The air smelled of coffee all the goddamn time. You always knew when it was going to rain because the smell in the air smelled stronger. That's when you knew rain was coming. Okay? So it's gone now, and so I've been turned into flats of rich people who basically, people who live in the area can't afford these flats. Right, so that's what it's been turned into. So I read this from a place of understanding. I grew up near a factory. I also have grown up near an airport. Right. So okay, let me go further on. Okay, right. This is when I'm talking again about the factory. All factories, Grandpa Joe, have workers streaming in and out of the gates in the morning and evening, except Wonka's. Have you ever seen a single person going into the place or coming out? Right. Well, I don't really know, Grandpa, Charlie stammered. Whenever I walk past the factory, the gates always seem to be closed. Exactly. But there must be people working there. Not people, Charlie, not ordinary people anyway. Then who? Uh-huh, that's it, you see, that's another of Mr. Wonka's cleverness. No, what Wonka does, okay, regards to his work is not cleverness. This is a man who closed the factory because of this. This is why this factory, which by the way would probably, this is a factory which produces chocolate for the entire world. It's not just a local factory. It's, imagine, unlike a lot of factories that are based in different countries but making the same kind of product, this one singular factory makes chocolate for the entire world. Can you imagine what that would do for the local economy? What you can what do, okay, for jobs, okay, if this place was open. But Wonka's a dick who closed it for this reason. He's such an arsehole. Right, okay. All the other chocolate makers, you see, had begun to grow jealous of the wonderful sweets that Mr. Wonka was making, and they started sending in spies to steal his secret recipes. The spies took jobs in the Wonka factory, pretending that they were ordinary workers, and while they were there, each one of them found exactly how special certain thing was made. And then they did go back to their own factories, asked Charlie. They must have, asked Grandpa Joe, because soon after, Fickle Grabber's factory started making ice cream that would never melt, even in the hottest sun. Then Mr. Prodno's factory came out with chewing gum that would never lose its flavour. Then Mr. Slugworth began making super sugar balloons you could blow up to huge sizes before you popped them with a pin and gobbled them up, and so on. That is the only mention of Slugworth in the actual book. In the actual Gene Wilder film, Slugworth is an actual character, and I absolutely adore Slugworth. I thought it was such a cool character. He suddenly appears. It's like the darkness, shadows, just knowing which child is going to find these tickets, because Wonka clearly planted them. Okay, I think he just found, okay, these odious children. And then he suddenly appears whispered in the background, okay? Oh, one actually does it on live TV. That's one thing that really impressed me. He does it on TV in front of everyone. Everyone just ignores him. Like, what's his name? Augustus Gloop. He's basically caught in tea, whispering in Augustus Gloop's ear, just feeding him some, I think, potatoes. No one mentions this. So, anyway, let me just go back to that. Right, so time goes on. The tickets are announced. Charlie doesn't think he's going to get one. Of course, it's his birthday. He doesn't. Okay, and the family have their circumstances are so reduced that Mr. Bucket loses his job. I must find another one. He's getting paid half. So he's one man supporting his entire family. He's parents, okay. Actually, not maybe grandparents, just because the ages, okay. Unless Charlie, they had Charlie quite late, because the grandparents are in their 90s. Charlie's about 10. So anyway, yes, maybe it's his great grandparents. I don't know. So the family is so poor that Charlie just stands outside Wonka's factory, just trying to breathing in the scent. Okay, right, here you go. Sometimes he would stand motionless outside the gate for several minutes on end, taking deep swallowing breaths, as though he was trying to eat the smell itself. That child, said Grandpa Joe, poking his head out from the blanket one icy morning, that child has got to have more food. It doesn't matter about us, we're too old to bother with. But a growing boy can't go on like this. He was beginning to look like a skeleton. Right. And the family basically trying to give Charlie food, but of course Charlie's passing it back to him, saying, "No, you need it more than me. You absolutely need it more than me." And then Charlie, the last day of the contest, he gets a golden ticket. He finds 50 pence in the street, goes to buy two Wonka bars, and everyone knows the story. He buys one, no. Then he buys a classic, opens it up, and it's a golden ticket. And the deadline is one day, okay? So the 1st of February, he finds it on the 31st, okay, of January. So he's only got one day to get himself together. Now, clearly, Wonka has set this up. Okay, he set up these children. When you actually meet these children, okay, they're kind of bright and odious. Also, only one of them legitimately won. Sorry, all of them legitimately won their ticket, apart from Veruca Salt. Her parents own a nut shelling factory, and they chopped it all to golden tickets, okay, chocolate bars. So, but everyone else won it. Everyone won theirs. It's like, okay, these children are gonna have more money, okay, more means to actually do this contest in the first place, okay. But you can't begrudge them for winning. Okay, fine, okay, you can for Ruka Salt, she's a brat, okay. But everyone else won it. But the thing is how kind of these children, okay, I don't see them as bad. Looking these through a 21st century lens, I don't even see these children as bad. Okay, they're obnoxious and a little bit odious, okay, but I'll read these out, okay. Augustus Gloop, a greedy boy, fine he's greedy, so what, okay. Veruca Salt, a girl spoiled by her parents, okay, fine, she's a bit of a brat. Violet Beauregarde, a girl who chews gum all day, she's not a bad kid, okay. My Teavee, a boy who does nothing but watch television, so, okay. And Charlie Bucket, the hero, right. It's like, what, because Charlie Bucket's not suffering, okay, like, you know, so Charlie Bucket's suffering and these kids aren't, okay, they're not heroic, they're just normal kids. They're looking through for a 21st century lens. These are just normal children, okay. Fine, obnoxious, a little bit bratty, it's like he's spoiled, but I don't really see him as bad, okay. I mean, in the actual remake, I generally actually like the children more. I thought none of them deserve their fate. So, yeah, not even Veruca Salt. So, here you go. But I think he's found the ticket and this bit here, okay? Right. Okay. I love to go, my dear. It's Miss Bucket talking, okay, about who's going to go. Right. I love to go. I'll be tremendously exciting. But on the other hand, I believe that the person who really deserves to go most of all is Grandpa Joe himself. He's listening more about it than we do, providing, of course, he feels well enough to, and Uncle so Grandpa Joe jumps out the bed, which hasn't done that in like 20 years, and sings, "I've got a golden ticket." Imagine this is a film, okay? And it's like, well, he's fine, guy in his 90s. And one thing is this, all the other children have both their parents. He has his granddad. It's like, why not bring another parent? Why not bring someone else? Why Grandpa Joe? Now, in the film, this is a Johnny Depp film, it's established that he actually used to work at Wonka's factory back in the day. He worked for Wonka's factory and then he lost his job. So it's like, so it's not just going back, and the film kind of, sorry, the book kind of takes that and kind of pushes it into the film kind of thing, but you kind of get the impression, okay, so he's going back to the factory he used to work in, that's why he's there. So hey, thanks to Willy Wonka, Grandpa Joe lost his job. Oh, well done you, well done you, okay. So they go in, they meet Wonka, and you know they're a little bit confused by all this, and okay, I'm just going to get to the Oompa Loompas. This is my biggest problem, okay, is the Oompa Loompas. Okay, I can't even believe it's even written, okay? But however, I don't talk about censorship, and no, these books should not be censored. These are the books that Roald Dahl wrote in 1964. Keep them intact. However, I mean, come on. Even for 1964 standards, this is a little bit like typical Roald Dahl. He was just whatever. Okay, here you go. It's when, okay, he finds the Oompa Loompas in Oompa Loompa Land. Okay, right, here we are. Look here, I said, speaking not in English, of course, but in Oompa Loompa-ish. Look here, if you and all your people will come back to my country and live in my factory, you can have all the cocoa beans you want. I've got mountains of them in my storehouse. You'll have cocoa beans for every meal. You can gorge yourself silly on them, and even pay your wages in cocoa beans if you wish. You really mean it? Asked the Oompa Loompa leader, leaping up from his chair. Oh, of course I mean it. And you can have chocolate as well. Chocolate tastes even better than cocoa beans because of milk and sugar added. It's a deal. So I shipped them all over here, every man, woman, and child in the Oompa Loompa tribe. It was easy. I smuggled them over in large packing cases with holes in them, and they all got here safely. Now they're wonderful workers. They all speak English now. They love dancing and music. They always making up songs. I expect you will hear them singing today from time to time. I must warn you though, they're rather mischievous. They like jokes. Okay, right. And this is when um, Augustus Gloop falls into the river and gets sucked up the pipe straight after. One thing is this typical Roald Dahl ambiguity. Okay, I mean, these people are seen, they've envisioned that this man, this chocolate maker, as this man who makes chocolate. People make chocolate are nice, okay? You make chocolate, chocolate makes you happy. Okay. But Willy Wonka is, for this very moment, he's always been presented as an arsehole. Willy Wonka is an arsehole. He's an unashamed arsehole. But because he's kind of dressed up, okay, to be kind of how everyone wants him to be, he's just a dick. And it's clear that he's a dick. I will bring these back. I will pay you in cocoa beans. You will live in my factory. You will never go outside. He just basically stood there and says, I will make you slaves. He's made the Oompa Loompa absolute slaves. That's one thing I like about this book. I mean, there's so many great theories about China Chocolate Factory, okay? Or Willy Wonka the Chocolate Factory, that's the name of the actual film with Gene Wilder. Is there's so much commentary and ambiguity about Willy Wonka, but he's not a nice person. He never has been. But the best one, and Amanda Manson loves this one too, okay, is Willy Wonka's Satan. He is Satan. He gets all these children and finds the one again who's the most uncorrupted, the most pure, to warp into his own image. Okay, that's a great theory. Also, we all know the Snowpiercer theory, don't we? Okay, I will link to that. You watch that, and yes, Snowpiercer is a sequel to China Chocolate Factory, and it's brilliant. Okay, I absolutely love that video. I watched that several times. So yeah, he's an arsehole. He's an absolute unashamed arsehole. Right. And this bit here, okay? This is when they're going on the boat. Now, in the film, the boat is shaped like this. It's like just a boat. In this, it's shaped like a board. Sweet. Okay, here we are. And Wonka's talking to Charlie and realizing how skinny he is. Yes, he's very, very skinny. In the illustrations, he looks skinny. Quentin Blake, incidentally. Right. Mr. Wonka, who was sitting on Charlie's other side, reached down into the bottom of the boat, picked up a large mug, dipped it into the river, filled it with chocolate, and handed it to Charlie. Drink this, he said. It'll do you good. You look starved to death. Right. And Mr. Wonka filled a second mug and gave it to Grandpa Joe. You too. You look like a skeleton. What's the matter? Hasn't there been anything to eat in your house lately? Not much, said Grandpa Joe. Oh, yeah, maybe because Grandpa Joe used to work for the factory. Okay. Also, when he shut down his factory, did he let his staff retire with pension? The pension? No, he just came to the code. He gave him severance. No, he just closed the factory, told him to go. So, all the issues with their economy, with a chocolate factory, which, Willy Wonka ruined the local economy. I reckon not just Charlie's family is struggling, okay, with this. When he shut down the factory, it had a knock-on effect. Right, now, put it this way, I live in the shadow of Heathrow Airport. So Heathrow Airport, they say about 70, 80,000 people actually work there. Heathrow Airport, over 100,000 people rely on Heathrow Airport for a job. Over 100,000. If Heathrow Airport shut down, there'd be a bit of a problem. There'd be an absolute problem with the local economy. Essentially, all the boroughs that begin with H, okay, or H, okay, typical West London, Hounslow, Hillingdon, Hayes, Heston, right? All those Harlington, all these areas which rely on Heathrow Airport would suffer due to Willy Wonka being an absolute dick, okay, and being so selfish. So what? Other countries, so other other companies, they found the magic. They found how my they found how this stuff works. We're going to shut down the factory, and basically bring in the slaves. Yes. So he's just a selfish asshole. He basically ruined the local economy because of his own selfishness, because of his own ego and pride. So what if other countries say other? I know intellectual property is a really, really big deal. Okay, but so what? So just because Lidl produced their own version of Mars doesn't mean that people are going to stop liking Mars, right? Mars bars, they're not. Okay, just because Lidl or Aldi do their own version of a chocolate bar doesn't mean that cabbies will suffer. And also, um, Lidl, sorry, Asda's chocolate bars are really nice. Here you go. Just because other companies produce something pretty much based on your work doesn't mean that your work will suffer. Okay? Oh, dick, absolute dick. All right. And also, one thing I like is that Mike Teavee, I actually like Mike Teavee as a character. So what? He's a kid, he's American, he spends all day, okay, watching TV, he likes westerns, so what? He's a kid, okay, who's been zapped by television, that's the one. He does point out, okay, Wonka's hypocrisy in all this. It's kind of like, it's just straight after Violet Beauregarde is expanded. I kind of say, because I saw this with a bunch of mates as well, okay, we all took the nephews and nieces. And Missy Pyle paid Mrs. Beauregard. Missy Pyle. I'm like, my God, that casting. This is the Johnny Depp film. Missy Pyle is a wonderful actress and she's absolutely stunning. I mean, she was in Galaxy Quest, she was in Dodgeball, she's been in loads of stuff, she's beautiful. God, she put in Dodgeball, okay, you put her in that kind of makeup, it's like, you can tell she's a beauty. I mean, see her, you just think Lady in Red. Anyway, I said, okay, my God, get rid of Mrs. Beauregard, okay, but keep the mum around because she's gorgeous. Some great lines as well. So I need to point out Missy Pyle because, okay, this bit here. A fine rich purple from head to toe, but there you are. That's what comes from chewing disgusting gum all day long. If you think gum is so disgusting, said Mike Teavee, then why do you make it in your factory? I do wish you wouldn't mumble, said Mr. Wonka. I can't hear what you're saying. Come on, off we go, off we go. And also, one thing I can't not remember when I actually started reading this, is the everlasting gobstopper with Stagworth, obviously. That's not in there. Neither is the fizzy lifting drinks. So Charlie goes for this entire thing narrative as being just so pure. Everyone else falls to the wayside or falls down a garbage chute or gets sucked up through a pipe or zapped by television. Charlie doesn't because he's so pure. He's the hero, as Roald Dahl pointed out. And okay, also once again, I need to talk about the Oompa Loompas again because this is Wonka's treatment of them. I think Roald Dahl was actually making a point what a dick Willy Wonka actually was. This bit here, okay, right. Butterscotch and butter gin is said on the next door. Well, that's a bit more interesting, said Mr. Salt, Veruca's father. Glorious stuff, said Mr. Wonka. The Oompa Loompas all adore it. It makes them tiddly. Listen, you can hear them now, whipping it up. Shrieks of laughter and snatches of singing could be heard coming through the door. They're as drunk as lords. They're drinking butterscotch and soda. They like that best of all. Butter gin and tonic is also very popular. Yeah. Pays them cocoa beans and gives them booze. Okay. And then, of course, at the end, all the children have fallen to the wayside, and Charlie's a winner. Charlie's the winner. He finds out what he's won. Okay? And then, because he's found the most purest child to do this. Oh, we all know. Listen, Mr. Wonka said, I'm an old man. I'm much older than you think. I can't go on forever. I've got no children of my own, no family at all. She's going to run the factory when I get too old. She'll do it myself. Someone's got to keep it going. If only for the sake of the Oompa Loompas. Mind you, there are thousands of clever men who would give anything for the chance to come in and take over from me, but I don't want that sort of person. I don't want a grown-up person. A grown-up person won't listen to me. He won't learn. He will try to do things his own way and not mine. So I have to have a child. I want a good, sensible, loving child, one to whom I can tell my precious, sweet-making secrets, why I'm still alive. Right, so someone I can walk into my own image. Okay, walk into my own image. Someone who, not a grown up who will come up with their own ideas, some fresh ideas. Someone, okay, who's got some, I don't know, like maybe, it's like letting the Oompa Loompas go, you know, that kind of thing. Give them a decent education because there's children here working in the factory. slave labor. So, but no, he's found a child to warp into his own image. This is actually not a nice story. It's typical Roald Dahl. It comes across being nice because it's goes to go to the Gene Wilder version. But one thing actually we'll give Johnny Depp is that Wonka is not a nice man. Okay, the problem is, okay, Johnny Depp's Wonka was too obvious in that. Gene Wilder, okay, is more subtle in that. So, hey, both good films in their own way, by the way. But Wonka's not a nice person. Wonka's the kind of man, okay, who basically has spud so much, okay, there's YouTube videos basically saying Snowpiercer is a sequel. And I actually do agree with that. Because he took this child to warp him. He warped Charlie Bucket. That's his plan. Pick a child. A child, okay, who's not just poor. A child who is starving. A child who basically will stand outside a chocolate factory and breathe in the air. A child who has got everything to lose if he refuses this offer. Right. Anyway, so it's bloody good book though. Anyways, I'm signing off here. Take care, everyone. Bye now.